Welcome, hunters, to the Hunters Hub episode 25. It's a good one to be going on. 25 in, only a quarter to 100. Today we're going to be talking about the Spring Fest and some other things at the current state of the game. So before we kick all of that off, once again, a shout out to our Monster Hunter World, who has decided to do a cross promotion with us. So here's our little hey guys, if you want to check him out, just go to reddit.com/ourmonsterhunterworld. And tonight we are joined once again by Ariel. How you doing?
What's up, guys?
Lobo, how do you do?
I'm pretty tired, but I am still here, so let's go.
Yeah. And returning previous co-host Gog.
Hey.
So we got 4 people today around a good round table discussion on Springfest. So, how much have we got to play that Springfest?
I've been able to play a few things. Haven't really done any of the events for the armor because I don't really think they're worth it, but that's something we can talk about.
Okay.
I've, done the quest for, Pink Rathian and Legiana. I actually played around with, just doing all the different events that I missed.
Yeah.
It's been fun. I like it.
How are you doing with it, Lobo?
So I've played a little bit of it today. I ground out all the Banahabras to get my fancy set.
Okay.
And I also did some of the Ryu stuff, and it was pretty fun. I'm trying to track down which quests go with which former event rewards. Specifically because I'm trying to get that fire resistance bandage for the head. And I don't remember which event quest gives that, so I have to kind of go through them
Yeah,
all.
I was actually wondering about that too.
I was going to tell you the answer, and then I just straight up was like, no, I don't know. I know I have enough tickets for it.
I also need to finish making the fancy greatsword. I'm excited for that.
Ooh, yeah.
But
Wyvern Ignition.
yes.
Yeah, actually, Gog and I did that together.
That was actually... I completely forgot about that. Yeah, we went and ground that out. Got the greatsword.
So I have an important question.
Mm-hmm.
Does the upgrade require a ticket, or do you just need the 2 to make it?
You need 5 total.
2 to make it. It's 3 or 2 to make. That seems to be
2
the
to make
formula.
it,
3
3 to
make
upgrade it.
So it's the other way around most of the time.
Okay.
3 to make, 2 to upgrade.
Okay.
But this time you could be right. It's 2 and then 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And Ariel, how much did you get to play?
I played a couple Tempered Devil Joes off of your guys' recommendation, and
As you always do.
Mm-hmm.
it was a tremendous fight. It was a good fight. Something I've kind of been itching for since I hit the peaks of high rank. And then I haven't done the new greatsword yet. That is probably like the next thing I'll do when I log on. But I did go back and make the Yaku helmet, which is awesomely ridiculous. And and I went back and I did some event quests that I missed out on before.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for reminding me. That's actually on my list of things to do. I forgot to get the Yaku.
Yeah.
So for myself, I've got the greatsword. I am almost done without grinding events. I am done making the event armor, the high rank one, which is, I don't remember, that's the Banabra or Vespoid or something armor. And then I'm also partially the way through the butterfly armor in low rank. And the butterfly armor it's weird because it's locked behind a challenge quest, which is kind of weird. But one of the interesting things they've done is now the limited bounties are no longer weekly, but they're daily.
Really?
And one of those daily quests are a challenge quest. Most of the time, it doesn't matter whether it's low or high rank. Sometimes it has been just high rank, but if you get a low rank one, if you're allowed to do a low rank one, that is a low rank challenge quest to sort of finish the butterfly armor. So I've just been doing it just to do the bounty. So
yep. Yeah, it's very cool how they did that.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Oh no, the
I
armor.
don't think I will ever.
That's not what I was talking about. I meant like the way they're doing it daily now.
Yeah, it gives you those fireworks, the item that you just basically set down. It's just like a bounce bomb, except it just sits there and just fires fireworks in the air. I don't know if they do damage
They
or
do.
anything at all.
I hit tempered Kieran while I was asleep with it when I was trying to do a fancy thing before I killed it. I felt bad.
How'd that go?
I ended up killing him, but it was very scary because I was not expecting him to wake up. I kind of like walked backwards and then turned around, and he was awake looking at me. It was terrifying.
Horror music.
Yeah, because I don't augment my armor. That's just something I do because I want to keep the game, like really stressful for some reason. So I've been fighting things that augments. So he, especially because he's elemental, is very scary. But I make sure with all buffs I have 50 lightning element resisted, so works well.
Dang. I do want to say that I have been grinding out those crown quests because I've been crown hunting, and I have now successfully completed every crown aside from a small black Diablos and the Elder Dragons. That's it.
We need to combine because I have like all of those and nothing else. Like I have specifically a tiny black Diablos.
Nice. I've actually been working on getting a small Kieran. So I've been that's the one I've been grinding out lately when I'm not doing these event quests. But I mean, the limited like bounties that are daily, they take up enough of my game time now that I don't get to do a lot of other playing before I have to go to bed.
Yep.
I mean, on the weekend that's fine, but today that's definitely going to be the case, and I know that's going to be the case tomorrow. So, it's fun, but I've essentially I know that my crown hunting is going to be on hiatus because of that structure.
Hey man, at least it means you're busy. It's fun.
Yeah, and just for giggles, I ended up looking up at my. I specifically looked at my playtime before I got on today to talk about this. I'm up to 429 hours.
Man.
And that
You're at.
Now I'm rank.
Sorry.
And now I'm hunter rank 208.
Wow, that's not as high as I thought it would be, honestly.
Well, I mean, some of those hours are looking for downy cakes.
Oh. Yeah, the downy crate is like crazy rare.
Yeah, bristly cake I found in 3 attempts, but the downy cake, oh no.
Cake.
It's funny. The first time I even realized that there were rare, like eco. What is it?
Endemic
life. That's what it is. The first time I noticed was I was walking around the Wildspire. I assumed I had just gotten everything, and I didn't care. I didn't know there was like a specific thing I needed to do. And I was running around the Wildspire Waste, and I was farming different tempered tracks. This was when I first had beaten Kieran and had no tempered tracks for elders, and it was that weird grind before you can do anything. And I was running back and forth between the Wildspire and the Elder's Recess. And I went into the Wildspire, I grabbed it, I turned around, and all these little birds in a line were making peeping sounds and running in a line. I was like, oh, that's cool, and I went to like casually run over and catch them, and then they disappeared. And then I went back, assuming they'd just come back, and I just like never ran into that back corner before of the Wildspire Waste because you don't need to. They didn't come back, and I looked it up, found out about all these weird things, like ones that can be spawned on top of like moss-wine backs and stuff. It was so weird.
I gotta do more homework.
Yeah,
then.
that's the bristly cake.
Yep, it's very cool.
Yeah,
Arctic was the one who's our previous guest. He's he's currently stuck trying to get the ones that's on top of the rhinos, or not, on top of the Apteros or whatever they're called.
Yeah, those were the ones I saw.
Yeah, those are the downy cakes.
He keeps doing it, and they just do not show up.
Well, they can be on the back of anything. They can be on the back of Apsaris or Aptonoth. It's any herbivore, and it's going to be typically it's going to be in the evening or the morning. So like right when it's half night and half day, typically.
So it's like the the prism hercodrome, which you find in the forest.
Except not a guarantee.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So, kind of a quick how we're doing on the Spring Fest. I wanted to get into the Spring Fest armor real quick. So there's the high rank one, which I don't know about you guys. That looks ugly to me. That headpiece. Ugh.
You're talking about the blossom armor.
Yeah.
So the face masquerade thing.
Yeah. For one eye? Like what? What?
Why don't you like masquerade masks?
Yeah, I think it's cool.
I don't know. I just don't like it.
Did you like the Hororu outfit in Generations?
No.
Aw.
How would you like this one then? Because that one's amazing. That was one of my favorite, just kind of fashion sets I used.
My ideal sort of aesthetic for armor sets has always been something like the Diablo set. And I was talking about this with you, Gog, the other day. The Monoblo set is actually my favorite aesthetic for an armor. The really spiky. I'm a bad A looking knight. That's the way I like to look.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
I always liked the I always liked the last game's Ingot armor, like the straight up knight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually used I had a mix of Zamtrios and Ingot armor that looked really cool in Generations.
That kind of sounds like, what's your favorite aesthetic? Oh, Dark Souls.
Hey man, if you can't play any more Dark Souls because all they're coming out with is a remaster.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it is an aesthetic. I always thought one of the Rathian, like the Rathian Queen for the males, with that pointy face, it always reminded me of that series in terms of aesthetics.
Yeah.
Even though Rathian armor predates Dark Souls.
I know. It still has that look.
Pretty hard. It does, yeah. Yeah, I actually really like the Rathian set.
I do too.
That was when I was fashion hunting and Double Cross. I was using the Rathian set up until it was not usable as far as defense wise.
Hey, at least in Double Cross you could have transmogged.
I didn't get that far.
No.
Because I don't feel like reading Japanese.
I can't blame you. But overall, the Blossom armor, it doesn't look amazing, but to some people it's cool. I think it looks pretty cool. Like if you want to do something like, I don't know, suave.
I just wish we had more endgame viable sets.
I mean, I think the majority of armor is pretty damn viable at the end, but it's just like crazy OP viable, quote unquote.
You can really hunt with whatever you want. It's just, there's certain other skills that want.
Yeah, so you're saying more like optimal?
Yeah, well, because like a lot of the spring stuff is like, it's just really early skills or gathering type of skills. And it's like, I'd rather have something that has like damagey or defensive stats on it.
Yeah. And I was okay with, like, when I first saw it and I noticed it had slots, I was like, oh, that's probably okay. It's got some weird random spring-themed slots. I mean, spring-themed skills, one tier, and then you can put whatever you want on it to make it, usable. But they're all level 1 slots. There's not, like, a mix of level 3. Like, it's not like the Guild Cross set, where you have a bunch of random stuff, and then crazy good slots, like level 3, 3 level 1s, level 3, 3 level 1s, over and over. It's just 2 level slots on every single one.
I mean...
Or 2 1-level slots.
It does kind of make me excited for the potential of more seasonal stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, if we can get I can't wait for, like, Halloween if they decide to do a Halloween one.
Oh, I think they will.
That'll be PC launched already, too. So that'll be a much bigger fan base.
Yeah, it'll be around that time at least.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe maybe they'll launch it with that. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, the going rumor is G rank with the PC release, but
I'm not sure about that.
I think
that'd be awesome.
I agree, it'd be great, but I agree, I want it. I just don't see it happening.
It's too close.
I don't either. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, they weren't initially planning for that. Like Double Cross, when they weren't initially planning for it, they took them a year to do that, year and a half.
Yeah.
I still think they had it planned the whole time, but that's just me being, me.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of trust whenever they say something, that's what they're saying.
Yeah, they're pretty open about a lot of things.
Yeah, and we're talking about the developers for those of you who don't know. Nintendo's the same way. They don't really like to trick people. Aside from surprises and directs sometimes, not often. So you can pretty much trust when they say, "Hey, this direct is just for 3DS." You're just going to see 3DS.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, a lot of companies they'll just be like, "Yeah, we'll do this and this and this," and then like later on, like, "Hey, you didn't do this and this and this." It's like, well, I mean, we were kind of just trying to keep you interested.
Yeah, it's true. Like,
so, yeah,
don't you worry, that 30-second ad where you're not going to see anything is coming.
I'm still kind of just a little excited for the April update, whatever that is, because that'll come at the end of the Spring Fest.
Right.
Yeah. Well, they're coming out with Devil May Cry DLC, which is awesome. I really want to get the new Charge Blade.
But that's late. That's gonna be a while.
Yeah.
It's 27th.
No, I thought that was going to be the fall update.
No, they announced that it was going to be the 27th.
Huh.
I'm going to look this up very quietly. So,
I mean, it was on stream. It was on one of the Monster Hunter streams. They were just talking about it, so it might not pop up that easily. But
yeah,
I watch it in my free blocks at school when I'm doing homework.
Mega Man
it's
event.
It's a perfect time.
Mega Man event is next week.
Really?
Yep.
They're finally doing it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I knew it was coming during the spring update because I said that during the stream.
Yeah, I need that Tiny Odo in my life.
I already got a Tiny Odo. I've had a Tiny Odo since before I hit high rank.
Well, this one was tiny. I feel like this one is smaller than that, though. From the footage they showed. The little tiny footage.
Like literally. That giant Kuluyaku that we were talking about, Ariel.
Yeah, dude, that thing was monstrous. I was just like, what?
The Baroth for the Ryu one is even bigger, though. That thing is ridiculous. I can't believe they even put that thing in the arena.
Yeah.
That was like World Eater Baroth.
Have you looked at the World
Anteater?
Have you looked at the world records for it right now?
Mm-mm.
The challenge?
Yeah,
the Ryu
for
challenge?
The Baroth challenge.
No.
Oh my gosh, people are crazy. They're doing it currently. The top spots are all held by Gunlance and Gunlance and Greatsword.
Okay.
What's the time?
I'd have to find it again. Sorry.
Oh, it's
but it's like I think it was like about 2.5 minutes ish.
Damn.
And then the for the Hunt All the Bonobras one, they're doing it in like 1 minute 15 seconds, and we're like, how?
Oh, so you know how I saw people doing it? They're running in with the ballista, peppering them out of the sky. Just pop, 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 done.
Huh.
Oh.
Isn't that a good idea? Oh, I saw it and I was kicking myself.
It is. I was thinking like maybe they're using bounce bombs and stuff.
Right? They're just like real damn accurate when they're just like popping them forward at like a 75-degree angle like they are. I really don't like bounce bombs in this game because how annoying they are.
That's only
they don't go straight up anymore.
No, the low rank ones do.
They do? So the big ones, they just... Oh, okay, that makes it even more annoying.
Yeah, they change it up. So, with like all these event quests that we're getting and this kind of stuff, and I mentioned there's like daily the daily bounties and tickets. Have you guys been drowning in tickets now that they've been giving us 2 at a time?
Yeah. I found a reason to actually start using them.
Yeah.
I'm like one of those people that they stock up on everything and they're like, oh no, I shouldn't use it yet, and then I just don't use them, and it's a waste because I always have 5 every day.
I just forget to activate them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably had some stored up, Ariel.
Yeah, dude, I haven't used any at all ever.
Same, man. I haven't used one.
I just don't. Like I'm I'm the guy who beats Resident Evil with a full like arsenal and ammo, and at the end, it's like, wow, I probably should have used some of that.
Probably could have shot a zombie at some point.
I'm the guy who uses it all and gets in a really tight spot, and is like, I probably shouldn't have used that much.
Yeah.
They dropped a rocket launcher for you. But what if there's a secret boss after this one?
Right? Yeah. That's exactly how I feel.
I'll get it on the second playthrough.
I'll play through like Assassin's Creed and Uncharted and all those games, and it's like I could use these 2 bullets on this thing, but I won't. And then it's like I could use these 50 bullets on this thing, but I shouldn't.
Yeah.
I remember I used to play Pokemon, and like I never bought any potions because I would always just constantly walk back to the Pokemon Center every time I needed to heal.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god.
So it's just like every time I had a dungeon, I'd just be like, all right, I'm strong enough to get to the dungeon in one shot, let's go. And I never healed. I only had antidotes. And it was just so weird.
Well, you needed antidotes.
I never...
It gets scary. When you're little and you see that screen vibrate and you're like,
When I was
It's so terrible.
When I was
Sorry.
Stop apologizing. When I was a kid, I never used the X attacks or the X speeds or specials or anything like that, and I never bought them. I never even used the free ones. And now I'm an adult and I watch like somebody who is like speed running it, and they make liberal use of it, and it just lets them like destroy things, no effort. And it's like, oh,
yeah, those
probably would have been useful, huh?
I will say I never used X attack and that kind of stuff before, but well, so for me, the tickets have been coming in, and normally I reserve using tickets for tempered elders, and so I'll just do like, hey, I'm just gonna to spend the ticket, I'm gonna do 1 or 2 tempered elders tonight, just to sort of keep the ticket list down. And now with the 2, I'm just spending it on like normal quests now, because I'm like, I don't have time to do another tempered elder or that kind of thing. So
yeah.
As a result, though, of me just spending them and willy-nilly, I have hit 9,250,000 gold.
God.
Oh my god.
I'm starting to think I'm going to hit the max.
I'm going to say it might be 9,999,000.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
I am still struggling to keep 6 figures. I don't know what you're doing.
Spending it on absolutely nothing.
See, I'm making like every armor and all the weapons and stuff. It's
Yeah, I actually make a lot of stuff too, and I'm saying in the 700,000-800,000 mark.
Mm-hmm.
So that's funny.
I don't know. I just don't spend it. I make the few sets that I do from time to time, and I just don't spend it. It's the thing I run out of is armor spheres, not money.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't run out of those, but you augment though, so
yeah.
I only have to go so far.
Yeah, I know. Augmenting, you really lose armor spheres.
Oh my god, it gets so expensive. It's like 200 a level, and then it's like 400. I went,
really?
No, I'm not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
So yeah, like there's all this like stuff that they're throwing at us for the spring update, all the events and all this kind of stuff. Has anyone went up to the gathering hall and saw the Poogie and the cat dancing on him?
Oh, it's so good.
It's very pretty. I did find out, and something I'm very upset by decoration wise.
Mm-hmm.
So the cute Gilmard outfit where she's all dressed as a bee and stuff.
Yeah.
You can't keep that as a permanent outfit for her. That goes away.
Yeah.
You can keep the Poogie outfit forever, but the guild lady doesn't keep hers. I'm upset.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guild ladies one is really good. I actually like it.
Yeah, people probably still want to use their For You Guild Marm Lobo.
Yeah.
Don't they have another one that's like a cook now?
Yes, they do. Chef.
Yeah, it looks really weird though.
I kind of want it though because that's how I like, That's pretty much all I talk to her for is like, make me a meal while I'm at camp.
It's true. That's all she does.
Oh, my oldest daughter, she loves the handler. She repeats everything that handler says. So
I'm sorry. I'm sorry you have to hear it twice.
We'll get done in. So I do a lot of like repeat quests. So I just go back to camp, stock up, eat, and then talk to her, and do the quest all over again. Just sort of grind it out, especially for crown farming. And then she goes, "We're on the hunt," and then my daughter goes, "We're on the hunt," all the time. And then I don't know. I enjoy it. I don't.
That's cute.
I don't have any problems.
Well, yeah. If it's your kid, it's gonna make you feel so much better about it.
Well, I mean, I didn't have problems with the handler before she started doing that either. She's just a bubbly person. But so like what I was getting at, we got all this stuff, but we've been talking a little bit before this, and just like talking to my brother today and stuff. People are just dropping like flies from playing this game. I went from hunting with, someone at some point, maybe sometimes too many people, where we had like 7 or 8 people and we didn't have enough to do quests, to I've been primarily solo hunting again. And it's not from lack of like me going out there and looking for people. So, I mean, I still go to my one squad, but all those people that I was playing with, that they're gone. And my brother, he said he's not going to come back unless they do a major update. And he hasn't even played Devil Joe, and Devil Joe was one of his favorites. And I'm like, what is going on? So my question is, even though we have the spring update and this kind of stuff, is it really enough to keep people playing?
I don't think there's enough. That's honestly why I've been starting to drift away to other things, is because I still love Monster Hunter and stuff, and I'm still glad to like read about it and talk about it, make jokes and memes and stupid. But actually, like sitting down and just playing it every day, it's like I have other stuff I'd like to get into for a while.
So I have a question, because I'm still playing it.
So am I.
Yeah, like Lobo, how many hours do you have in the game?
I do not know offhand. I haven't looked. I try not to look at how much
how much your life is sucked away by it.
I just in general don't look at how many hours I play in games.
Yeah.
I stopped that after looking at Warcraft and Dota time spent, and that was a mistake.
That was a few years.
I'm really glad that with Warcraft there's no way to tell how much time you spent across all of your characters. Blizzard
That's probably
hides
a
that
good thing, yeah.
Which is a good thing.
That's it's funny because the reason I mentioned it was just because I see every once in a while people on YouTube comments that are like, "Oh, this update's so bad, I'm not going to keep playing," and that's kind of what's happening, Like I get it, there's not that much, and it's not enough to keep people playing, but then they're like, "Oh, I'm hunter rank 156, and I have 400 hours, and I've gotten platinum," and I'm like, dude, you've done everything in this game and you've no-lifed it. Of course it's going to get a little boring. Like, I don't blame you for getting bored of this game. But most games don't have 400 hours of content to keep you playing it.
That's true.
Like, I remember one of the first, like, right when the game came out, there was some dude on Reddit, on the subreddit, Monster Hunter subreddit, that had said, hey, like, I'm really upset that we're not getting, the Switch, but I'm still going to play this game, but I know I'm not going to play it any longer than until I get, after I get the Platinum. And someone immediately commented under him, like, have fun with your 400 hours, buddy.
Yeah. I mean, there's something to be said, though, about there's definitely a fast track to completing this game in comparison to previous titles, even generations.
Yeah, definitely.
Without G rank even, so try and all that kind of stuff, the in my opinion, the thing that has fast tracked us the most is the smushing together of the single player and the multiplayer into one quest line. So now
It's true.
I'm not doubling up on quests. I'm not basically doing low rank and high rank twice. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
not doing essentially 4 ranks. Um, they've also fast tracked like quests, like just chaining quests, expeditions help you out with things. Like
Yep.
everything is faster. Everything is faster. Gathering, hunting, everything is
Yep.
just faster. So we were eventually going to be hitting the end game content inevitably way before any other previous title.
Yeah.
I
Even
have
if
another,
there are
And
more quests.
I have another theory as well about that. And
Mhm.
that's just because I understand the whole more quest thing, but it does not feel like there's more quests. I think partially because it all takes place in one town. Even if you change areas, some of them you don't stay in long enough to have an impact.
yeah.
Compared to the game I put the most time into, which was by far For You, where like
Mm.
you spent a ton of time in the trader village and a ton of time in the volcano, and like each location you were stationed in was quite a bit of effort before you got to move on to the next
Yeah, it was
area.
cool.
And I don't know the actual numbers, but I still think that also should kind of attribute to just we don't have as many monsters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, in
Uh.
comparison to For You, we are 12 more monsters than Monster Hunter Tri.
Hmm. And that's actually like the hard thing with this game is it is the first one that is on this console, and like we talk, like I bet you guys talk about this all the time. It's really hard to start from ground zero again, basically making everything again, because you don't have all these extra resources you can just chuck in. Hey, here's Tigrex because it's already a thing.
Yeah,
Like in this exact visual, his moveset still works for everything that's going to happen in this game. We can just chuck him in.
yeah.
Yeah,
You know?
We've not even seen a pseudo wyvern skin or frame.
Yeah, yeah. Because they'd actually have to make it instead of just chucking it in. You know?
I mean,
Yeah.
I still
And
think they could at least have a basis from like 3U and 4U because those skeletons can be rigged pretty easily in other systems. Look at the Arc mod, where some guy just straight hauled that stuff from 3U over, and it looked great still because he just kind of upscaled the
yeah,
resolutions and he was still able to rig their full animations.
yeah, but like I feel like it's a little different because the AI is so much more technical in this game compared to those
That's
games.
true.
Yeah,
That
but it's still
like even like the
rigging.
movement is so much more continuous than turn, reset turn to be straight at the person. Either run forward or like turn your head and shoot a fireball. Like I mean, like Rathalos and Raytheon, it feels so like are so telegraphed in those games, whereas in this game, their movements are like they don't really stop and turn. They just kind of move at all times. It's
Yeah,
it's much different in my opinion, and like actually having to do like
but something I was looking at
visuals
because
for it.
I was actually kind of interested in modeling and rigging for another side project that I'm going to keep quiet about for a while. But
Hmm.
I noticed that they didn't, like example, the two monsters we have returning and Devil Joe. Why not? They didn't gain much extra articulation. It's not like they had to re-rig the whole thing. Like most of their movements still fit within the confines of what their previous things could do. The only example I could really find is, they do this weird ass twisty backflip. Now, you know what I mean? It's not just a vertical backflip that like turns
Oh
on the
yeah, yeah.
x-axis. It actually like
Oh,
diagonally
yeah.
moves and twists, and it's like, okay, that's kind of a new, like, maybe they had to put more bones in the spine and the tail in order to accomplish that. But it still seems like everything that they can do on this thing could have been accomplished on the previous model. They just didn't because low poly and less, low polygons meant it would have looked bad. Because if you stretch something with a low resolution, it becomes really, really bad.
So
I don't know. I guess all I know is that as a person that doesn't understand any of that stuff and has been told by anyone who where I say that kind of stuff, everyone always told me like I don't understand how to how to animate and all that stuff, so I shouldn't be saying that it's easy. So, I don't know. But if you do that stuff, then I'm willing to take your word for it.
what Ariel, what do you think? Do you think it's do you think it's
I,
enough
I
or
do think
no?
that the game is enough in terms of, let's say like a $60 game that they have released and stuff like that. The real issue is
Sure.
that one, this is a return to console, and so I don't know how it
Yeah.
is in Japan, right, where their, so to speak, main market is, but here console and PC gaming is all about content, and especially for something like Monster Hunter, which is not a PvP game at all. Someone suggested that on Reddit, and
No.
they are
Yeah.
downvoted to oblivion because it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Um, and so, yeah, and so you
Yeah.
look at something like Destiny, you look at something like what's like the Division, these RPG esque games, these games where you have
Yes.
progression goals and stuff like that, right?
Games
And
as
ultimately, if
service.
you're not
Yes.
continuously making
Mhm.
content, you're left behind for a spell. And Monster Hunter is now just another game in the rotation instead of being the game for many people. Now there are exceptions, like you, Fortuan, like many others, especially
Yeah.
I would assume in Japan. But for me, for Lobo, it appears even we're playing this, we're getting our money's worth, so to speak. Um, and then when the next update comes,
Mhm.
we'll log on. We'll spend another 10 to 20 hours hunting whatever they drop, and then we'll move on to Fortnite or Division or whatever it is you play. And I just think it's a function of modern
Mhm.
gaming and the fact that it's a console. But like I have
Yeah.
320 hours in this game, and that tracks with about what I had in every other Monster Hunter game. There's a limit to what you can do because the game is so
Yeah.
stressing, so to speak. And without G rank, I think you could wipe about the 50 hours that I
Mhm.
had extra in 3U and 4U. And so this is, this is around when people burn out or, and move on. And right. So
Fall
like I said,
off.
it's a
Yeah.
function of it's a move to console. It's just how modern gaming is. Remember when everyone played Call of Duty all the time and played nothing else? It was Call of Duty or Halo or like World of Warcraft, and there was nothing. But now we have options,
Yeah.
and much like movies, which had to evolve, much like television, which had to evolve, and sports, which had to evolve, I think, you know, gaming has evolved, and Monster Hunter is just that's just part of it. And I still think this was a smashing success. This was as successful as they possibly
Oh yeah.
could have imagined. And
Exceptionally.
I think really they're just like, hey, we'll come out with free DLC, and then in a few months we'll come out with a $20 DLC, and everyone's gonna buy, and everyone's gonna do buy skins and stuff like that. Like I'll buy DLC, I'll buy the next round of layered armor sets, but after that, I'm gonna move on and play Fortnite or PUBG or the Division 2 or whatever comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
And
Exactly.
that's the thing. Like, I see nothing wrong with that because
Yes.
you put 300 hours in that game, and that's ridiculous for a lot of games around right now. Like, I played Dark Souls 3 blind a few months ago. I just on a whim I was like, you know what, I'm gonna play through this game. I've never played Dark Souls game, and it was awesome. It took me 40 hours, and then I went and did the DLC. It took another 5 hours, and then another 5 hours for the next DLC, and that was it. And like if that came
Yeah.
out, you play the game 40 hours, you drop it.
So
DLC comes out, you play for 5 hours, you beat the DLC, you drop it.
here's
That's just how it is.
here's always been my stance on games, kind of thing. Um, in terms of like value of games, because these are $60 games that you're buying.
Mhm.
I always evaluate it like if for every $2 you spend, you should at least get $1 out of your game. Because there's some games you buy for $60 and it's 30 hours and you're done. I think
Yeah.
Bioshock Infinite was like 20 hours and you're done. But
So
then
you meant $2 for 1 hour? I think you said $1.
yeah, $2 per hour
Okay.
is basically so you spend $60 on a game, you should get roughly 30 hours out of it.
Sure.
And then
Okay.
anyone that goes above that, anyone that even breaks the 1-to-1, so if I get 60 hours of gameplay out of $60, that's a
Mhm.
great deal on my hand. Like I think that's a pretty good use of my time, and like clearly it was a good experience if you stayed on for 60 hours.
So for me, I I think that personally,
Yeah.
it is enough, right? I think personally, I am having a blast crown farming. As I've mentioned before, this is the first title in the whole series, and I've been playing since game one that I have actually actively crown hunted. Um, I mean, like my most played one is the original Monster Hunter on PS2, which I've talked about a couple times, was
Oof.
upwards of 2,500 hours of playtime between my two saves. But I was a teenager. I played just that for a long time, and I mixed it in with Shadow of Colossus once in a while. I didn't have the budget to keep buying games at that time. It was just like it was just my thing. So for me, when I get done crown farming, I'm probably going to do due diligence and learn every weapon, um, just so I can be an expert on those weapons that I make articles about. Um, but uh, I can see a point where I'm going to slow down, and that's going to be God of War, at least for
Oh yeah.
that time that I beat it. I'm still going to be playing every day because honestly, I have a commitment and sort of an obligation to play because of this podcast. At least I feel that way. And I don't. It's not an obligation that I'm like, oh, I should really play. No, I enjoy playing. I look forward to playing every
Exactly.
day. But I think that for me, it's fine. But for the health of the game to not just sort of be the next fad flash in the fire, I think there maybe needs to be something big coming on the horizon. If that makes sense. There has to be something that is going to pull people like my brother back who said he's not going to come back
Right.
unless
Right.
there's something big. You know what I mean? Like there is always a push to have Monster Hunter be recognized for the great series it is. It's always been sort of that niche within a niche within a niche in the gaming world.
Yeah.
We're talking like gaming itself being a niche of entertainment, which is not so much true anymore, but it's still acted as if it is, especially in its home country, Japan. Um, it's video games are prevalent. Monster Hunter is super popular, but they don't like to talk about that openly.
Right.
It's a cultural thing. But
Yeah.
the and then you get into sort of like cooperative games, and there's cooperative games have been going on the wayside since the 90s. And that's what Monster Hunter is. And then on top of that, Monster Hunter just hits so many of these things that make it less popular. And it was really exciting to see the zeitgeist of Monster Hunter World, and people are coming back, and a lot of new people are coming. We're still getting new people. It's still doing successful. It's doing great, right? The sales are the best single title sales, which is kind of weird because Street Fighter 2 was technically a single title, but whatever. Like Capcom is basically making a PR stunt to say, hey, this is the best Monster Hunter sale, best game of our whole entire company. But that's kind of been true for a long time, but people don't recognize that because they remember things like Resident Evil, they remember Street Fighter, and that kind of stuff. But Monster Hunter's been kicking tail since it came out. And it's been getting better and better and better and bigger and bigger, and it's becoming this bigger thing. The problem is it's being seen as the latest fad, like exactly what happened to Destiny and like Destiny 2. People are still playing it, it's still doing well, it's still getting updates, but it is kind of a fraction of what it used to be. You look at what is it, The Division. The Division was another one where a lot of people played it at first and it just sort of dropped. So that's my concern, is I don't want the game to be a sort of flash in the pan that it's kind of feeling like it is because so many people dropped at this point. We're only 2 months in. And for a Monster Hunter game, that kind of feels fast to be the drop off.
Yeah, I just think that this game wasn't. It was dropped fast, but it was also consumed far faster than any game. Any game before.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That is true.
You keep mentioning a drop off, but like this is the first one to have, I don't want to say any platform to drop off, but we never talked about a drop off from 3U, 4U, and Generations.
Yeah, because there wasn't enough people to say
Well-
there's a
Yeah, there
drop-off.
was a huge spike. It was just the people who bought those games were the people who'd always bought those games, and they didn't like. I never saw advertising for generations and stuff like that.
I mean, there's
And
been
then for
advertising in
Monster
the
Hunter-
US since Freedom Unite.
I barely saw anything though.
Yeah.
But compare it to, I was at Dave and Buster's. There was a video game, or there was a sports game, a football game on TV. It cut to commercial break during a major football game, and the first commercial right off the bat was Monster Hunter, and it's like, oh,
Yep.
that's a
Right.
different type of advertisement
Uh,
than they've done before.
I mean, the one UFC fight I ever watched at all was the one where Lagiacrus was the center stage of the octagon. So,
Wow.
and that was Monster Hunter Tri.
That's pretty cool.
So, like, there's always
Well, Monster Hunter Tri is notorious for being one of the better,
yeah,
like popularized, like over advertisements and all that in
Ironbeard and all
America
that stuff.
since-
Yeah, but
Oh yeah.
but one of the but I was going to say is that there is a drop off, right, and it's coming faster than before. Has been drop offs before, and Lobo, I know that you as a user of Reddit, right, you don't see that as often. You still see the same people coming back and back, right? Well,
Right.
let's say, yeah, from 3U, 4U, and Generations, during that time, I was still a moderator of our Monster Hunter. And you would get the zeitgeist of the first 2 months of release, right? You
Yeah.
would get probably about 3 or 4 months of hardcore people just blasting through it, and then just done. Gone. You don't hear from them again. I'm not going to mention any names because I could be wrong and I just didn't notice them anymore. But there were a couple prominent members that were just like, "Hey, I'm here for the beginning of the game. See you next game." Like that was kind of a thing. But this drop off is happening quicker now. Granted, this is a much smaller scale than the previous games for sure, much smaller. But my concern is that sometimes a game gets too little too late. And one of those games that suffer from that right now is the Shadow of War.
The Lord of the
right?
Rings? Yeah.
The Lord of the Rings one. Yeah.
Lord of the
Yeah,
Rings. Yeah.
so it had a lot of controversy with its loot boxes and that kind of stuff, and they're taking them out as of last week, I think, is what I heard.
Wait, are you thinking of Battlefront
No.
2?
No.
Because they just announced that they're getting rid of.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the Lord of the Rings game. And the news came out, and people were like, "Oh, that's cool." No one cares, and that's what all the other podcasts were saying. Like, this game has done. We're done with it. We've moved on. I don't want that to happen to Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like if we're not continually pushing something, which it sounds like they are, I'm kind of feel like, okay, we're not going to care anymore, and we're not going to care till the next big game, or maybe even G rank if we ever get G rank, which I doubt. At least in this title, in this release, I don't think it'll happen.
I think part of it's, and this is still part of me thinking it's just more noticeable now than in the past, because of the fact of how big this game got. Like, what's it? I think it's Japan. It's like the biggest game selling ever, and it's certainly the best thing that Capcom has ever released at this point. Like in terms of sales.
Yeah.
So like coming from that high mountain, yeah, it's gonna look like a ton of people are dropping off.
Yeah.
But that's because there's just so much more people.
Yeah. And like, I bet if you think about it, Uncharted could sell incredibly well, and you could have a ton of people play it. After they play it for 20 hours, they're going to drop it, and that's a drop off, but that's because it ends. You're not going to play it anymore.
Yeah,
you know?
Uncharted is one
You
of
get
those
that
best
weird,
things.
like, donut skin of Drake, where he's
Yeah.
fat, and he sounds like a
Donut
lower
Drake,
voice.
yeah.
But, I mean, that was beautiful. I played through the game just to use him, but, like, like that's
well,
it.
there's a difference between
Like this is a game. I mean, yeah, like grindy games, yeah, you get more. But I mean, out of the other Monster Hunter games, in this amount of time, like the fact that it's been 2 months and I've played 250 or more hours of this game, that's insane to me because I have not played nearly that amount.
Sure.
or like in that amount of time of any of the other games. The other games, I hit 200. 3U and Try were my big ones, or 3U specifically. But like 4U, I had 200. I think I hit 200 when I finally went back and finished G rank.
I mean, I've surpassed my generations. I've surpassed 4U, and I've surpassed. I want to say Try. I did not 3U yet.
Yeah.
3U, I put a lot more.
I mean, generations, I have 120 hours in it. That's it.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I'm 250 in generations, but my point is the perception is reality, right? I'm worried about the public opinion of the game of it being a flash in the pan, because I don't want to. I don't want it to go back.
I think it's done what it needed to do.
Yeah, back into a somewhat obscurity in the gaming scene. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I think it did really well, and I think it did what it needed to do, which was get a lot of people to play it and a lot of people to enjoy it. And I mean, that was its goal. These are just extra bonuses. Not a lot of games get a lot. I mean, like, again, Dark Souls, 2 DLCs, 2 little areas, like 2 bosses in each one, and only one of them is even worth fighting.
Yeah, but
usually the DLC is absolutely terrible.
But we're still talking about Dark Souls and Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3 years out, right? What I'm worried about is that conversation with Monster Hunter stopping because it doesn't have the content to keep going, because that's what the expectation was.
I don't think there was an expectation that there was going to be a ton of DLC.
I mean, if you've looked at the...
It's got a ton of content in the game already.
If you've looked at the general opinion of people just online and YouTube and that kind of stuff, they're like, okay, it was fun, I guess I'm done now. Like, that's been the sort of...
But they already played 200 hours of the game. Like, that's a lot.
Don't really matter when they stop talking about it. You know what I mean? Like, people are still talking about Dark Souls now.
I don't know.
And that's my concern.
Well, that's because they play PvP. That's different.
That's a good point. There is no PvP.
To me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a power creep to the top, and then you're done.
And I admit, I do see people still doing... It's easier to do challenge runs, too, in Dark Souls, where you can be like, I'm going to do it with this weapon or this. In Monster Hunter, that's...
Yeah.
You can, but not great.
I mean, people do that. They, like, set up routing and stuff, and they make their way through the game. I've seen people beating the game in, like, 8 hours. It's crazy.
But that's what I'm saying. There's still a conversation. There's still something going, right? And then I don't see that happening as much with Monster Hunter right now. I see people drop off and just stop talking about it.
I just think it's a different... I don't know. I didn't expect
ultimately
that from this game.
Obviously, like I know you have a concern, and it's because I think you love the game so much, and I think you're afraid that the focus on kind of the widespread appeal might drop off because of this. And I think I don't think it's as valid as a concern you seem to be making it, but I still think that it is a concern because obviously the game will continuously be released in Japan and have American releases, but
well, I mean, I'm talking about this title specifically right now,
and I don't think that, like, I know you have a concern, but there's nothing we can do about it. I don't think the game is not meant to have or in America, the game doesn't have a cultural relevance outside of a hardcore fan base, and I think you are overestimating even the cultural relevance of something like Dark Souls. I think that the people who love that game will love that game, and I think it is an American quote unquote version of Monster Hunter. I outside of really like hardcore gaming circles, nobody knows what the heck Dark Souls is.
That's true to a degree.
Well, I think people know what Dark Souls is, but people like me, I played through the game and I was done. Most people did that. The only reason people keep playing it is because of PvP. I really don't think that there's a lot of people playing Dark Souls right now. They might be talking about lore, but that's because that's just an interesting thing that they tried to do in the game. And they also have... Like, we could have lore in Monster Hunter too, but we only have really one game of lore and then like an art book way back. You know, like that's a little different.
Monster Hunter is lore.
We don't.
That's how you stay relevant.
Yeah.
And we don't have that right now.
Yeah, there's a lot to build on still.
Yeah. Dark Souls has a story, like it has this thing that it's been building around this whole time. This whole thing of like the cycle of life and death and all of these things that interact with that, and that's a whole deep story they started from the beginning. Like that's something they've been building over
Sure.
years. We haven't really, like, this is the first time our
Right.
legacy of Monster Hunter has really hit America. That's like the first Dark Souls coming out, you know? Like even then, the first Dark Souls wasn't a huge hit. It was still getting up there, and it still had to grow.
So I think um, what I'm not seeing as much is so I listen to a lot of video game centric podcasts and YouTube shows, right? This is kind of where I'm basing this conversation off of. Reddit and those kind of gaming circles, right? I don't know. I don't
Right.
know the outside gaming circle because I mean, honestly, I interact with my family in gaming, and that's kind of it. I'm not in a lot of other spaces. Um, so like when you listen to like other gaming circle podcasts and that kind of stuff, you know you still talk. There are times where we're not talking about Dark Souls constantly, right? But it's something there. You know what I mean? It's always something on the table. It's always something that, hey, that's like Dark Souls. They'll snap back to it, or hey, that's kind of thing. This is the first time we've got a chance for that for Monster Hunter, and I just don't want to see that chance drop off too hard. That's what I'm trying to say. Is I don't want to see that conversation die completely. Um, and it has for a few games. One of my favorite games, unfortunately bankrupted the studio making it, and it didn't do too well. The Kingdoms of Amalur: The Reckoning. Like, not a lot of people know about that game, even though it was like really stellar and that kind of thing. And that's the kind of fate that I don't want to happen. Is that it was good, it did well, and that game didn't. But you know what I mean? Like there's sort of a stopping point of the conversation eventually. Um, I don't see that actually happening. I'm just worried about that drop off happening and making it harder for the next game to sort of
I
get
I
there.
don't
You know
think
what I mean?
you'll see. We don't think the same way that video game. I don't want to say developers. I want to say decision makers think. Like Lobo said,
Mm-hmm.
this
That's
game
true.
made them a ton of money, and judging by how much they made from, let's say, the samurai skin or the special edition or any future DLC, people
Yeah.
are gonna buy that. And look at what happened with Battlefront and EA with the first Battlefront that came out in like 2014, was it? I think it. Right,
Yeah.
that game
13
wasn't
or
good,
14. Yeah.
and they
No.
made a ton of money. And you know what they did? They came out with this next one, and this game isn't good. And you know what? They made a ton of money, and so and Monster
It's
Hunter World is incredibly well received. I think a DLC will make a ton of money because there are lulls in between the Fortnite craze and
Oh
and
yeah.
and Destiny's not good and Division 2's not out yet, and all of these things that people who want to have progression based games like those, when they see more things to progress, they're going to do it. And so Monster Hunter DLC is going to make money. Monster Hunter World 2 is going to make money. Now, I think whatever sequel after this has to up the ante in terms of making this more of a triple A RPG esque game, like adding
Yeah.
transmog and story and lore. Otherwise, they will kind of get left behind in terms of the super big games. I mean, but the franchise has survived this long, and and our community has grown
Yeah.
far bigger than it was when it was just DS games, and a portion of that growth will stay. And I don't think it's going to be a concern really.
True.
They made a ton of money. The next one's going to make a ton of money also.
I mean, I'm not concerned overall for the future of Monster Hunter. I know it's going to be fine. I was just making a point that it feels like it's leaving
But
the conversation. quicker than
here's
some
the
other
thing.
games.
Every
That's all.
game leaves the conversation quicker. The only reason that Destiny 2 is still being talked about is because how bad it is, right? Uh, and right.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah,
that's
that's
that's a
true.
huge difference. Titanfall, Battlefield, Call of Duty. Yeah,
Or Titanfall.
but these games, like even Uncharted, like Uncharted only gets talked about now because like they're making a movie and Tomb Raider the movie came out, like things like that. Nobody talks about like Uncharted 4. That was a great game, and people move on. That's our attention span as gamers is short. It's why RPGs don't. It's like Final Fantasy 15 was a big hit, so to speak, but it wasn't anything like 10. Like it wasn't anything like 7 or 8. So our attention spans are short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have to be constantly moving, constantly evolving. But I don't think Monster Hunter suffers from anything unique in the way people moved on and how fast they moved on. I think they moved on fast because like it was so amazing. Everyone burned out so fast. Like I put 300 hours into that game twice as fast as I did into the DS, and the DS is portable. So that's it's just this how gaming is, and that's what I think this conversation ended up being more about, and viewing gaming through Monster Hunter World.
Yeah.
But like thank the stars that this isn't Battlefront 2 or Destiny 2. So it's
Yeah.
So, and the other thing about playing Monster Hunter is because it's, like what you said, it's so good. You can actually just keep playing it, and you're like, oh, I want this weapon so I can do this. Oh, but I need these materials so I have to go fight this. And by the time I get like one weapon out, it's taken me like an hour just to like get ready. So it's a lot different than Far Cry, which, by the way, is another game where it's a game that you play through, and it has all the RPG stuff. It has co-op, it has PvP even.
Right.
And, you play it for a while and you drop it. But it always sells incredibly well, because that's what you're expected to do.
All right.
And, like, with this game, I lost track of what I was going to say. Shoot.
What I was trying to say was putting it back on the thing of, like, why I think it's not being talked about as much still is I do agree with the idea of that because it doesn't have, it is multiplayer, yes, but it's not a quick, like, oh, queue up for a server and then just kind of get match made.
Yeah, like Fortnite or something, yeah.
So the main reason I bring that up right now is because I kind of pulled up I went to Steam and looked at, like, okay, what's the top 15 games that are being played at this minute right now? Of the top 15 games, 2 of them don't have multiplayer as much as I know, and those being Far Cry 5, which maybe it has multiplayer, I don't know.
Right.
But it also just came out less than a week ago. And then Football Manager 2018. If anybody could tell me if that has multiplayer,
I'm pretty sure it does, actually. You can fight
but
you can football other people.
But the rest of all the top games is, like PUBG, Dota, Counter-Strike, and, multiplayer games that have lots of lasting multiplayer into it. And I'm not saying Monster Hunter needs to add that. I mean, yes, I would absolutely love to have a better matchmaking and server system. That would be amazing. Yeah. But I don't think that's what Monster Hunter really needs to stay popular.
And then sorry.
Because it's just not that style of game.
I mean, I think we've made some really good points, and I kind of agree with you guys that maybe I am a little too concerned. But I mean, honestly, I'm just raising the question. I think Monster Hunter is going to be just fine. The disconnect that I'm kind of seeing in my own little brain here is that I saw this, and I talked about this before, in the sort of same space as what Destiny and the Division and all that kind of stuff was trying to do, and that's what to me it sounds like they want to keep you playing. That is sort of their goal, is to keep you playing Monster Hunter, and I don't see that goal being achieved. That's not bad, and it's not. We've definitely sunk our hours into it, and you could probably stretch that out to equivalent of, let's say, probably twice the time of the previous games because we've crammed basically twice the same amount of content in about half the time, probably. But what I'm trying to say is that the goal was to keep people playing. That goal doesn't seem to be happening.
See, and this is why I don't think that that's the goal anymore for modern games. The goal is to bring...
Yeah, I think us as consumers, that's right.
Right.
Yeah. The most money they make from a game like this, because it isn't going to have a lot of stuff that's paid for. And they said that. The first thing they did was that they're not going to have a lot of paid crap or loot boxes or any of that stuff. They want it to be... You're buying the game and you're getting a whole bunch of free content.
Well, that's not any different
really
than what they were doing before.
Keeping you buying more stuff.
I felt like they were almost taking a jab for PR reasons to say, hey, we're not...
Well, I guess what I mean is that, like, longevity of other games is so people can keep coming back and buying stuff from it because it makes them more money, like GTA 5.
Yeah.
GTA 5 is lasting forever because they bring out tons of content, and it is tons of money. Like, I know a lot of people that say GTA 5 is fun if you have $1,000.
Also,
it's true.
It's number 5 on Steam, or it's number 10 on Steam right now.
Yeah, and it makes so much money. It's ridiculous. They make so much money now off of that game, and they make more money than they did when it first came out. It's crazy. Like, GTA Online is ridiculous, and it's kind of scary, and it makes me want to throw up by how much money people pour into it.
It prints money, though, and that's always how GTA games have kind of been, like, you know?
Just sort of wrap it up. I get what you guys are saying entirely. I'm just saying that they said they wanted to do this. It isn't happening. It doesn't look like it's going to be happening. And I don't think... You guys have entirely valid points. Myself, I'm going to be moving on at some point. I don't think I'm going to stop playing, but it's moving on as far as time devotion is going to happen. So,
of course. And, like, I think this, like, it's not like we're, like, arguing or we think you're completely wrong. Like, this is a discussion. We both have our sides. Like, I get it, man. I see all of your points.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's bad. I completely get it.
Well, cool. I think that's a good... Wow, that took like over a half hour, just that one part of it. Yeah.
It was a good conversation.
Yeah, we talk serious things on occasion.
Yeah. Last week was fun, though.
The end of Monster Hunter. That's good clickbait.
Nah. I do some
it.
clickbait stuff there for the titles. Just because it's fun. But, well, thank you, Hunters, for joining us today in that robust conversation. This is Fortuan. You can find me in @Fortuan, and if you want to tweet to the podcast any questions you guys have, it's @HuntersHubPod on Twitter. So, Ariel, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter @DreadPirateRada. Lobo, what fare thee well message do you have to bless the ears of our listeners this week?
This week, I'm going to be trying to work with the Union of Researchers after the recent Devil Joe attack and try to convince them to come back to work. I think they're going to need a lot of bribes.
One job and done.
How about you? How about you, Gog?
I'm going to be going and unlocking that Wiggler helm that I never did because I still only have 2 tickets. So that's all I'm doing with my life right now.
We still didn't do that, did we? I was like, yeah, I'm totally going to help you. And then my girls started arguing and fighting. And then it was just Gog doing it while I'm doing damage control with my kids.
Yeah, I carried him through that Wiggler quest. I got one more ticket to do. I got my PlayStation with me just so I can pick it up to the internet right now.
Wiggle.
Thank you, hunters, for listening today. You can catch us on SoundCloud or any past episodes on Google Drive download or YouTube.